Hey, this is Sebastian with Texas State Mechanical. We had a call today. It's Saturday, the 20th of November, 2020. And, our family is going camping for Thanksgiving this year. And I'm going to try to roast a 17-pound turkey on an open fire. That's going to be fun. So anyways, the reason why I'm saying that is because we were at Home Depot with the family, and I got a call from a customer saying, hey, our Venthoods aren't working for the kitchen, which is a very vital thing. You need those Venthoods working, in a restaurant, because you'll smoke everybody out, and that's not a good deal. You don't want to smoke everybody out of your restaurant, because then you lose business and so on and so forth. But anyways, we're gonna go get this done, and we wanted to take you all along for the ride. And as always, I'm gathering my thoughts, thinking, getting my head straight, because I was in weekend mode with the family. So always on the way to my jobs, I like to gather my thoughts, gather my brain, and go into like efficiency work attack mode, So we'll get them squared away, and we'll take you along for the ride. Okay, this is the Venthood. Our disconnect is in the on position. I'm gonna go downstairs, check the motor starter, any breakers in the breaker panel that might have tripped before I get started, because the belt's good, motor's not hot, so that's indicating that it's not overamping or anything. It's almost like it doesn't have power for some reason. So I'm gonna go check the motor starter and make sure we have power coming up here to this thing. Once I verify that, we'll troubleshoot from the disconnect on. So let me get to it. While I was up here, before I went down, I just wanted to check with my meter to make sure there is voltage or isn't voltage coming up here. So it's supposed to be 3-phase power. 0, 1 to 3, 0, and then 2 to 3, there's no power coming up to the disconnect. So it's got to be a motor starter or a breaker or something. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is look for these 3-pole to make sure they're not tripped at the main breaker. This is 3-phase here. These are single-phase. So I'm gonna look at all my 3-phase breakers, make sure they're not tripped. Not tripped, not tripped. Not tripped, not tripped. Okay, now we're gonna check the motor starter. And it's gotta be one of these. It's this one here. So I'll check with my meter to confirm voltage. Just give me a minute. Okay, so I'm gonna check incoming power to the exhaust there. 1, 2, incoming power there. 210 volts. Let's check all 3 phases. 1 to 3. 208. And then we go 2 to 3, and we've got 3-phase power. It's just not coming out of the bottom of this thing. So seems like that kicks it on. So we'll test it out, see what's going on. Okay, so I found the control voltage wire, which is here, for the motor starter loop for this Ansel system. So anyways, I found that the breaker for the control circuit, this is your hot leg, this is your neutral, was turned off. Let me show you. So this one, when I got here, was in the off position and it said don't touch, so I was assuming that it was like, you know, a direct short or something. But I didn't have any power to my motor starter control circuit, so I said, what the hell, let me disconnect those two wires that are feeding the control circuit, kick this on. I had power to my two wires for my control circuit, so somebody had turned this off, and I was assuming it was off and don't touch, but it's on and don't touch, because now I have power to my control circuit for my motor starter. So it's a just nuisance breaker. But let me go hook those control wires back up in the Ansel system and we'll go from there. Got power to H1 and N1 on our terminal block. AC H1 and N1 is our power coming to our control loop for our motor starters. And I reset that breaker and I started looking everywhere and I'm like, what the heck, the breakers didn't kick on. But then I followed the wire, which is H1. See, I followed the wire from H1 and it went out here into a junction box, and then I come out here and there's a switch there. So now watch. So it looks like the employees were playing with the switches because it wasn't working. The control loop, the breaker was off. So found the control circuit, got power to it, still wasn't kicking on. So I was like, is it these relays here? So I figured I'd follow H1 down through the terminal block. See that blue wire there? Went right here and I saw a junction box down here. And I said, well, that must be a switch. So sure enough, flip that on and the exhaust and the makeup air kicked on. So now we have power. They're on now. You can see there, that's the indicator on. See, we could turn it off and that indicator on the contactor will shut off. Look, watch. Off, see? So on, off. So it's a nuisance call, breaker. Somebody turned off the breaker or it tripped. And now I'm left chasing everything. Switches they had turned off, breaker, cut it back on, and so. All right, that's it for the exhaust for this kitchen here. But I'm also gonna check, you know, amp draw on the motor on the roof and everything. So, but that's pretty much it for this one. I've got another freezer to look at, so maybe I'll get some footage of that. All right, guys. All right, our Venthood is on. I'm gonna check voltage, verify amperage for the motor, the high voltage side, to make sure everything's good there. That pulley, that drive right there, looks a little worn, so we'll probably give them a quote to replace that, the switch, and maybe, you know, a new belt. Alrighty, so we got that customer squared away. It was really a nuisance call. It was a breaker for the control circuit of that motor was turned off. Lord knows why, I don't know. It wasn't tripped on the main breaker on the control loop. It wasn't tripped, it was completely off. So we found that breaker off. I flipped it back on, flipped the switch on the Venthood, and everything started up and running. We tightened up the belt, checked voltage on all three phases of the high voltage side, checked amp draw on the motor, everything checked out, everything looks good. Maybe that pulley on the upstairs on the roof needs to be replaced. I put a recommendation in the invoice. And to replace that switch for the Venthood, you know, because it's broken off, the little, you know, lever on the switch is broken off. But anyways, it's always a good feeling for me to get them up and running on a weekend. You know, that way you put your customer at ease and, you know, offer them the best service you can, the most efficient, get in, get out, get everybody happy. So, all right, guys, that's it for that one. We hope you enjoyed, and we'll see you on the next one.